In 2007, when Apple introduced the first iPhone, Nokia was one of the biggest names in the mobile phone world. The Finnish company had built a massive global mobile phone business, with its devices sold in more than 160 countries. But over the next few years, Nokia found itself caught in a transformation that challenged not just its products, but its entire business model. The meaning of a smartphone was slowly changing. A phone was no longer just a machine for making calls and sending messages. Touchscreen interfaces, web browsing, applications, and software ecosystems were becoming increasingly important. The iPhone in 2007, followed by the growing Android ecosystem, shifted the center of competition from hardware toward software and user experience. Nokia did not completely ignore this change. The company continued working on smartphones, invested heavily in research, and pushed forward with its Symbian platform. In its 2011 strategy, Nokia clearly stated that one of its major goals was to win in the smartphone market. At the same time, the company acknowledged that the mobile industry had already gone through a major transformation. But the problem was that the market was changing faster than Nokia could transition. Keeping the existing Symbian ecosystem competitive was becoming increasingly difficult. In Nokia's 2012 reporting, the company identified the competitiveness of Symbian devices and the economic viability of the platform during the transition as major challenges. Then, in February 2011, Nokia made a major strategic decision. The company announced a partnership with Microsoft and chose Windows Phone as the primary platform for its smartphone strategy. This decision came at a time when Apple's iPhone and Google's Android ecosystem were rapidly becoming stronger. Nokia hoped that Microsoft's software, combined with Nokia's hardware, design, distribution, and brand, could create a powerful third ecosystem. But a smartphone is not powered by hardware alone. Developers need users to build applications for, and users need applications to make a platform valuable. This created an ecosystem problem. Android and iOS already had strong developer communities and rapidly growing application ecosystems. Windows Phone had to catch up with that network effect. Another challenge emerged for Nokia. Moving from Symbian to Windows Phone meant balancing its existing platform with a completely new smartphone strategy. Nokia's own documentation identified this transition as an important business risk. Competition was becoming even more intense. Samsung and other Android manufacturers were releasing devices across different price ranges, while Apple continued strengthening its position in the premium smartphone segment. Nokia had to fight two battles at the same time, maintaining scale in the feature phone market while also trying to regain relevance in smartphones. This is where Nokia's story becomes more than a story about a failed product. It becomes a story about timing, platform strategy, and ecosystem economics. Nokia had customers, factories, engineers, and a powerful brand. But in the smartphone era, those assets could only reach their full potential if the software ecosystem was equally competitive. By 2013, Nokia had started restructuring its business even further. In September of that year, Microsoft and Nokia announced that Microsoft would acquire substantially all of Nokia's devices and services business. The deal included 3.79 billion euros for the devices and services business and 1.65 billion euros for licensing Nokia's patents, bringing the total transaction value to 5.44 billion euros. On April 25, 2014, the transaction was officially completed. Nokia sold substantially all of its devices and services business to Microsoft. Some manufacturing assets remained outside the transaction, but a major part of Nokia's mobile phone business was now in Microsoft's hands. This moment became a symbol of the end of Nokia's mobile phone era. A company that had played a major role in bringing mobile phones to the global mass market, had now transferred a major part of its handset business to another technology company. But the story did not end there. The Nokia name did not disappear completely. Outside mobile phones, Nokia continued focusing on networks, mapping, and other technology businesses. Over the following years, the company rebuilt and reshaped its business portfolio through acquisitions and divestments. Nokia's corporate history records the 2014 Devices and Services divestment as a major part of this transformation. So why did Nokia fall? The answer cannot be reduced to one mistake. Nokia was not lacking innovation. It had engineering talent, global distribution, and an extremely powerful brand. The real challenge was that the competitive advantage of the mobile industry had changed. Hardware quality and distribution were no longer enough. Software, applications, developer ecosystems, user experience had become equally critical. Nokia tried to respond to this transformation through its partnership with Microsoft and its move toward Windows Phone. But it had to gain scale in the ecosystem race very quickly, while Android and iOS had already established strong positions. Nokia's own reports identified platform transition, competitive offerings, and market intensity as major risks. Nokia's story is important for business leaders because being a market leader and remaining a leader in the future market are two very different things. A company can become extremely successful because of its existing strengths, but if those strengths are not adapted quickly enough to a changing market, they can eventually become limitations. Nokia did not collapse overnight. Its decline happened over several years, as technology, consumer expectations, and software ecosystems continue to change. And perhaps that is the biggest lesson from Nokia's story. In business, the most dangerous moment is not always when a competitor moves ahead of you. Sometimes the real danger begins when an entire industry is changing, while your past success makes you believe that the old rules will continue to work.